Now that I have a really good sounding mix, it's time to start mastering, and I'm going to show you a couple of things that will help you see what your ears are hearing. Let's start with the loudness meter, which can be found over in this section of Cubase. I'm going to have to raise this a little bit so that we get away from the watermark, but normally you would be looking at the meters here, which is usually a digital scale, as well as the control room monitor if you're using the control room, but the loudness tab is underneath that. So when you click on loudness, then you'll find two different things. You'll find a loudness meter right here, as well as the readouts digitally of all the different analyses that are being performed on the loudness of the file. To use the loudness meter effectively, you'll need to power it up, make sure that it's set to LUFS for loudness units full scale, and then you'll need to use the reset button whenever you start and stop the analysis over again. The analysis begins at the start of the project and ends at the end of the project, so you'll want to listen to the entire project from beginning to end while you're using the loudness meter. Otherwise, the only things you're really going to be able to rely on are the momentary maximum loudness, the short-term loudness, and the true peak. With that in mind, I'm going to power it up, and then I'm going to start the playback of my project. And you'll see it starts to analyze instantly. And the thing that we're really looking for when we're talking about the loudness of a project is the integrated loudness right here. The standard range these days is between -14 and -11 LUFS, or loudness units full scale. Right now, since I haven't done any mastering on this project, we're getting pretty close to an accepted level of integrated loudness, but later on I'll need to use a maximizer to bring that integrated loudness up to the standard range of between -14 and -11. And then when you've played through the entire project, you'll end up with a readout here that shows you where that integrated loudness is. If you wanted to start over again, make sure you hit the reset button. Otherwise, you'll be combining those two analyses, or as many analyses as you've done to play through the entire project, and you don't want to do that. That's why you want to reset and start from the beginning and let it play all through the end, and then the numbers represented here will be an accurate readout of what's happening throughout your project. And the other meter that is really useful for mastering is supervision, and you would add that by going to the stereo output fader of your project and putting the supervision analyzer in the post fader inserts. And I'm going to leave 3 post fader slots here, and I'll explain why a little bit later. But in the second to last slot, I'm going to click on that, go to the analyzer section, and call up supervision. Normally, supervision will show you a level readout, but there's a lot more to supervision. You can analyze for level, and I'm just going to get some playback happening here so that we can watch the meters. So here's the left and right level output in these horizontal sort of VU meters. But we could also analyze for the spectrum curve so that we can see what's happening frequency-wise. It'll even grab momentarily where the frequencies are the loudest. That's what these little orange nodes are for. We could look at the phase scope to see if the project is balanced between the left and right channels and not out of phase. But what if you wanted to see a whole bunch of different meters at the same time? That's what the presets are for. If I go to music and mastering, then I get the most commonly used types of meters for mastering. There's the level meter, the spectrum, the phase scope, and some other things down here. And you can resize supervision so that it can take up as much or as little space on your monitor as you want, but you can also customize it to respond better for musical performance or for visual performance. To do that, click on the little gearbox right here, and right now it's set for maximum audio performance, so it may not be responding in completely real time. If you turn that off, then the meters become much more responsive, but it will be using more processing power of your computer to drive the meters so that they respond graphically as quickly as possible. So right now I'm going to set that back to maximize for audio performance, and each meter can be configured separately. So each meter can be set to have maximum performance for the audio or for the meter itself. So you can customize that. Maybe you want one meter to be more responsive than the other, so that's what those are for. And next I'll talk about compression.